Well, when you hear the word Pizzagate, most people instantly think of the 2016 internet frenzy, hacked emails, John Podesta leaks from WikiLeaks, the mainstream media trying to spin it as if it was focused around a DC pizza shop, which ended in violence. But of course, that wasn't true. The pizza shop was cover for the bigger story of elite networks using coded language like pizza and hot dogs to arrange for abuse of underage children. Jeffrey Epstein was real. The trafficking was real. And in the newest tranche of Epstein documents, the word pizza is referenced tons of times. Some perhaps about food, others clearly about having their way with young girls. Code word pizza. One journalist 10 years ago who was fearlessly reporting on Pizzagate was journalist Ben Swan. He was one of only a few mainstream TV people at the time who was willing to ask any questions at all on air about Pizzagate. And he paid a professional price for it, of course. So after losing his career in mainstream media and with the newly released Epstein files, Ben Swan is vindicated. Here was his report from just a few days ago. Watch.
Anyone who dared to suggest that this might be true was blacklisted, shadow banned, or thrown off of social media. But then, just days ago, the largest dump of Epstein files revealed what some of us have been telling you for a decade, that Pizzagate is real. Not that there is a pizza parlor at the center of a child trafficking ring, but that child trafficking rings run by some of the most powerful people in the world do exist.
Ben Swan is kind enough to join us now on the show. Great to have you here, Ben.
Guys, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Well, they came after you fast.
Yep.
What was the moment? Maybe just take us back and just kind of unpack this. And I want to get your meta-analysis of where we are now with the new documents. But What was the moment then where you realized, like, oh, they're not just criticizing this report about the pizza shop. They're trying to destroy me, Ben Swan.
Well, I knew that within about 30 minutes of getting into work the day after the report aired. So the report aired at 11 o'clock at night, CBS in Atlanta. And the next day when I came into work, all of a sudden, you know, I'm the first thing that happens, I'm called into general manager's office, sits me down and says, you know, what the hell did you put on television last night? And so we start talking about the report, which, by the way, had been vetted in the newsroom. It had been signed off on by the senior most news people in the building. I didn't go rogue. I mean, everyone had seen this thing. They knew I was working on it for over a month. And so, but then it was all the reaction. It was the reaction from Washington, D.C. We had lawyers calling us. We had lobbyists calling us. We had CBS Network calling and saying, what are you guys doing down there? How could you put this on air? And so there was this frenzy around it. And then immediately they said, listen, here's the deal. You're either going to take all your social media and turn it all off, or you're fired today. Right. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess you can fire me, but there's no cause for firing me. They didn't violate any rules. They didn't do anything wrong. And actually, the reporting stands up. There was so much we could have talked about in that Pizzagate story that's not covered if you watch the whole thing. I mean, there were so many deep things we could have gotten into. This was just a very surface level because it was airing on broadcast television. And as you guys know, there are certain rules that you have to follow. You can't show a lot of the Instagram stuff. You can't show a lot of pictures. And so we were very careful in what we did. But even what we did share was so shocking and alarming that all of a sudden, you know, it was this thing's coming down and all your social media has got to go away. And that's what happened for a year.
Now, I'm curious about the way that you might observe the way mainstream media today is covering this. They're not touching Pizzagate, even still. The way they cover even the Bondi hearings yesterday, our local news was like, well, they did say Lex Wessner. They just said it. Let's move on. Not who is he? That's, you know, it's Valentine's Day weekend. Maybe you want to rethink Victoria's Secret. How about all that? Like, it's so ignorant and purposely diversive. And as someone who tried to tell the truth, you must feel very vindicated, but also pissed. If you're like me, I'm pissed.
Well, not really pissed or vindicated, to be totally honest with you, because I knew from the day that I did the story that it was true. I really struggled with whether or not to even release the story at all. I had talked with my wife about it at the time, and she and I went back and forth. She did not want me to release it. I wanted to. She was like, they're going to come after us if you do this. And we actually took it to our pastors and said, if you guys could read through this script in advance and pray about us, let us know what you think. And I basically agree. Whatever they say, if they say this is too risky, don't do it, then I won't. They actually came back and said, no, we think that you have to, right? You can't not report on this. And so then, of course, we had a lot of backlash as a result of it. And to watch all that happen, look, I went through a lot, lost my job eventually because of it, was never able to work in mainstream news again. But all of those things ended up being huge blessings. So I'm not really angry about any of it. I think the disappointment for me is that over the course of those 10 years, how many more children were trafficked? How many more kids' lives were destroyed? How many more families were destroyed because the truth, when it was in front of the public and able to be seen on an internet level, really that technologically for the first time people could really dig into this stuff, was ignored so that this could continue. Not so that people wouldn't go to jail for what they had previously done, but also so that they could continue to act this way with impunity. And it went on for another 10 years.
Right. And it's still happening, as people in our chat room are pointing out, and we've said it here on the show, that this is active, right? This is the New York Times.
There's no evidence it's not. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, there's no evidence that it has stopped. The only thing I think is interesting, I know you guys had Liz on your show yesterday, and I was listening to that, and she and I actually did a live stream together last week and agree on this point, that if you look through those Epstein emails, if you go back to the Podesta emails of Pizzagate, the terms of pizza and hot dog, the terminology that was used actually disappeared after 2016. You'll see a sharp drop, and I think it's because of the fact that people like myself and Liz exposed the terminology. Again, it wasn't new terminology, and it wasn't exclusive to Podesta or to Epstein or to anyone in their circles, right? This is stuff that since 2007, the FBI had memorandum on saying this is how pedophiles communicate with each other on Tor browsers and on the dark web, and this is how they communicate. Chat rooms, they use this coded language. Well, all of a sudden after 2016, 2017, they're not using that language anymore. And what I keep trying to emphasize to people is it's not because they stopped. They just changed tactics. They just shifted how they were communicating.
Right.
And so now we have to relearn the language, I guess, to figure out where they are and what they're doing.
Right. I mean, these rats run into other holes now, and now it's incumbent upon investigative journalists like yourself to ferret this out and track them. I just want to put this up on the screen here. Take a look at this, Ben. So you worked at CBS, right? CBS News. It was an owned and operated station in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So CBS corporate
was owned by Meredith at the time.
Oh, Meredith. Okay.
Meredith. Yeah.
So just if you look today, I mean, this is CBSNews.com right now. Of course, the main focus is Savannah Guthrie's mom, right? There is zero mention on CBS News here about anything Epstein related. More top stories. No, nothing about Epstein. Nothing about Epstein. Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me. And honestly, the truth is it doesn't even matter, right? Because CBS is a failed organization. ABC, NBC, they're failed news organizations. People don't go to their news for them anymore. The #1 news app in the world, you guys know what it is. It's X. That's where everybody goes to get their news. And so it doesn't even matter. The mainstream news organizations aren't just to the point now where they're dinosaurs. They're extinct. They're printing for themselves and people who live on the Upper East Side of New York. The American public, the global public, is not getting their news and their information from them. And that's why I think when you go on, and I'm sure it's true in your feeds as well, when you go on X, what do you see? Every single post is Epstein. The administration's working very hard to try to change the subject on this, and they want to move on from it for various reasons. But I would say it's impossible, right? Because if you look at how the news cycle was being driven on X versus how it's being driven in any other place, it's pretty incredible to see that the public and content creators are not letting this thing go. And as a result, we're actually seeing so much more information come out every single day because people are digging in. You mentioned 911 times, right? Pizza was mentioned. Well, the latest thing we're working on, I'm actually releasing a report about this today, is on the cannibalism part of it, which was a very small part of the original Pizzagate story, but now we see it kind of prevalent in the Epstein files. Jerky is the term they seem to be using in the Epstein files, but jerky itself comes up over 311 times in the Epstein files. Who talks about jerky this often? And with, again, winky faces and little, one-liners, and Jeffrey's furious because he's out of jerky. Can you bring him some? And he's having jerky flown to him. constantly in these emails. I mean, if the guy has such a hankering for beef jerky, it's not that hard to get. Why is it require specialized people flying to you and to your island in order for you to access jerky? So we're really looking into that. But I got to tell you, that is where this story, for a lot of people, is almost impossible to digest, because we go from child sex trafficking for 10 years was hard for people to imagine. I think most of the public has accepted on some basic level that this was in fact happening. But then when you start to say, but that also includes not just sex trafficking, we're also talking about torture and children who are caged and locked up and cannibalism. We're talking about emails that discuss breeding programs to breed children to put them on the black market, right? The level of depravity and satanic ritualism that is involved in this, it may take another 10 years for the public to be able to actually accept that this is real, but these are the people, the most powerful people in Western society.
Yeah, can I just say one other on the word thing? Because something I've been looking into, and maybe Ben, you can run with this as well. I've just been looking into this and very curious that the word muffin keeps coming up. It's very strange. So I started going through all of these emails where they're talking about muffins, and Jeffrey's angry. You know, he's back to eating muffins now. He's back to eating muffins. I'm going to fly some muffins in for you. Like, it's just so, no one talks like this. It's just so strange. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. It's just, that's when you're talking about the jerky and now muffins and like, what other words aren't we even thinking of that we need to run a search on?
Well, that was actually my exact question. I was surprised when Liz said yesterday, these are known code words. They have been for a long time. And of course that makes sense, because drug dealers use code words. And of course, that's the FBI's job and the CIA to decode them so that they know right now. They have to know what the new code words are. We don't. Will it be another decade before we find out? That's the part that's so infuriating. I guess that's not a question, but I'll let you respond.
Well, no, I think there is a question in there. And I would say it's difficult to know whether or not the FBI would know what some of these are. Because again, if we're talking about since Pizzagate, and if people like Epstein and his circle, and people like Wexner and the people who are in these circles who were discussing, you know, child sex trafficking and child pornography and the assault of children using pizza words, and they suddenly say, hey guys, we can't talk this way. Do they invent their own? One of the reasons that the FBI was able to do this is because there are many different kinds of networks that are involved in child trafficking and human trafficking. We all know that, right?
Right.
And so those networks operate, you know, you'll have some which will be the 4chan, 8chan guys who are on Tor browsers sharing videos back and forth. That's a very different crowd than the people that Epstein's dealing with. He's not dealing with the guy who's in his basement, you know, in Virginia someplace, who's sending something to overseas. That's not who he's dealing with. He's dealing with a very different group. They're all using the same language because this became established language at some point. But after Pizzagate broke and after their codes were out in the public, did different groups isolate themselves and begin to create their own language that's not in the broader lexicon that the FBI would be able to tap into? And I think there's a very strong possibility it's not. That the terminology that Epstein would be using, whether it's, again, jerky or this word muffin, may not show up in other places. So there actually may not be an already established point of why are they using this word. And so it may take decoding through the emails, but also hopefully at some point arrests and conversations with these men who are involved in this and women who are involved. By the way, I'm also a little frustrated with the fact that we keep talking about all the men. It's not just men. If you look at these emails, even within the small number of unredacted names we've seen, Epstein had a circle of women around him, including Ghislaine Maxwell, but others who were recruiting girls and who were abusing girls and who were moving them through these networks. So it is a group of men and women who were deeply involved in this. And did they create their own language, and how do we discover that? So it is a process.
Right. And even like the women who were actively bringing the women, the masseuses from Turkey and from the spa to Epstein Island and facilitating all of that. You're absolutely right about that. Can I just ask you a journalism question here? And you don't have to reveal sources or anything. I'm just curious, in that month that you were grappling with releasing this story and you were talking with your wife and your pastor and everything, the story we were being told publicly was one thing, but obviously you were dealing with sources behind the scenes and working on this story deeply. Was there like a moment or a few moments where you said, oh my God, this is real? This specific point stood out that you included in your report that validated it for you from a journalism perspective?
Yeah, there were two things that happened. One was I was able to get in touch with self-proclaimed pedophiles who were operating on 4chan and 8chan,
Wow.
who were the ones who first flagged Podesta's emails. Right? The John Podesta emails that discuss pizza did not get flagged because people on the internet said, he sure mentions pizza a lot. Wonder if that has to do with child pornography. It wasn't. It was self-proclaimed pedophiles on 4chan and 8chan who started messaging and saying, has anyone noticed that in the WikiLeaks dump of John Podesta's emails, he's using the language we use? That's how we talk. Wow. So I was able to get in touch with some of those guys and communicate with them about the language they use and why they use it. You know, cheese pizza, CP, child pornography. It's the acronyms is how it originated. And that's what they originally
must have been.
That's what CP comes from.
Yeah.
Then once they had established that one, all the other words, whether it's sauce, hot dog, just pizza in general, those words all came out of the original, right? So then they use those based on anatomy and all that.
Wow.
But once I had that, do you completely trust that? No. Well, obviously you're talking to some of the most depraved people and deviants. He had no reason to lie, but do you trust it fully? No. But then the next step, and where it really was, this is absolutely real, was when I was able to then go back and verify through 2007, and I'm the first person to ever put this on television, the 2007 FBI unredacted, unclassified documents that not only showed the use of this language, but also the actual symbols, the boy lover, girl lover symbols, pedophile symbols that existed. And what we started to find were different bands that were incorporating these symbols into their music or into the pizza places that were in question. It was in their logos. That's not coincidental, right? That you start to see all these things connecting. And you guys know, and from a journalistic perspective, you go into a story never expecting to know what the outcome is if you're going to actually follow a story, but you follow it wherever it takes you. And when you start to go down those roads and everything is clicking, it makes sense at a certain point. You say, you can second guess yourself and say, this can't be real. But if it looks like it, smells like it, walks like it, talks like it, at some point you have to just put it out and say, this is where it is. Prove me wrong. Show me where it's wrong. And one of my big conclusion in that original story 10 years ago was, at the end of the day, law enforcement has not investigated it. That's the biggest frustration. And by the way, that's where we are again with the Epstein files.
Right.
Right now,
no one's investigating it,
covering it up, and then calling Thomas Massie, theatrical, or calling him a Trump derangement syndrome instead of actually investigating this. Yeah, it's incredibly infuriating. You had a question.
Leon Black, who is the head of Apollo, that massive firm, right? He comes up in those Epstein files multiple times, talking about, accused of having sex with 16-year-olds and then girls as young as 7 and 8, and that he had used toys and caused bleeding. I mean, it's very graphic stuff.
Yeah.
Why is he not right now being questioned by the FBI? Why is he right now not sitting in a room being interrogated and being charged? Because I understand some of this stuff is very old stuff. I don't know what the statute of limitations are on it. I don't know how much evidence there is, but there's a lot of evidence that would at least require you to go and sit him down and to interrogate him. And nothing's happening. It doesn't matter if the names are redacted or unredacted at this point. Les Wexner, who's coming after this guy? Who's interviewing him today? It's not happening. And that's the biggest problem. And I just want to point out, for anybody who thinks, that Thomas Massie's grandstanding when Pam Bondi says, yeah, there's 3,000 emails with Lex Wexner's name. You found one that wasn't unredacted. The one he found that wasn't unredacted was the most important document out of the 3,000.
Yes. The word co-conspirator.
The FBI said he's a co-conspirator.
Very important, I would say. I lost it over that. Here's something that's new to me also. I think a lot of this was scrubbed from the internet around the time your report was too, was the bit about Wayfair. Ordering Wayfair furniture. Specifically, there's one in which Jeffrey Epstein orders Wayfair furniture to the house of Woody Allen. Now, Wayfair is known for affordable, cheap furniture. I didn't think billionaires sent each other cheaper furniture items like this.
Wicker
And
love
so the
seats.
theory is that these are pieces of furniture that contain humans for the purposes of trafficking. Have you been able to validate that? What do you know about that that's new to me?
Well, I mean, the story, it was a little bit after Pizzagate. It was probably like 2018, 2019, when Wayfair scandal broke. So the concept was that Wayfair would be cheap furniture, and it was, cabinets and dressers, things like that. But suddenly there would be 1 or 2 items that would show up on Wayfair's website for ridiculous pricing. Like suddenly you think you're on Restoration Hardware, right? It's like it would be a file cabinet or a closet, like portable closet, for $26,000, for $35,000. And people started saying, why does Wayfair, everything else is like $299.
Yeah.
And then they have like a $30,000 wicker cabinet. And so the theory began that they were actually putting kids in these because they would also name them. And then people started matching like missing kids' names to the names of these products. Is there any evidence that any of this is true? No. I have not found any evidence that Wayfair was involved in human trafficking, was trafficking kids, had kids in those cabinets. There's no proof of it. However, it got a whole bunch of renewed interest because, as you pointed out rightly, Natalie, all of a sudden you find out Jeffrey Epstein ordered an $8,000 cabinet and sent it to Woody Allen.
Yeah.
From Wayfair.
Woody Allen's a good guy.
Right.
He's good.
Right.
No, and Soon Yi is here thanking him for the update. Like, okay, we're going to be eating outside. We need this outdoor furniture.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you. They couldn't get it any other way.
You had to get it from Jeffrey Epstein.
It had to come from Jeffrey Epstein, and it came from Wayfair. Again, this is where so the clever part of what they've done over the course of these many years is they have been committed to their coded language and committed to kind of hiding things in plain sight, because you sound like a crazy person when you're like, Wayfair is shipping children around the world to pedophiles, right? They're being used in this way. That sounds crazy. But and I'm not saying they are, for the record, but when you suddenly see that, in fact, Jeffrey Epstein was buying Wayfair furniture at ridiculously high prices and shipping it to known pedophiles, because he himself was a known pedophile, and then sent it to Woody Allen, who's a pedophile, and you all of a sudden see this happening, you say, am I the crazy one for asking the question? Am I crazy for thinking this is real?
Right, and then they'll gaslight you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine just accidentally ordering like a really expensive piece of furniture from there, and it shows up, and they're like, actually, you're not part of the program, so we can't actually make this delivery to you.
And then the question is, has anybody at Wayfair been interviewed by the Justice Department?
Right.
Yeah.
Has the Justice Department ever bothered to look? And listen, if I'm in the FBI and somebody calls me and says Wayfair is shipping kids around in wicker closets, I'd be like, that's okay. No, next. Let's move on to the next thing. But to your point, Clayton, and actually this would make sense if you were doing this, in that the people, and not disparaging anyone, but the people who shop on Wayfair will never accidentally buy a $26,000 cabinet.
Right.
Yeah,
because you're shopping on
that's the
Wayfair
brilliance
because
of it.
you can't afford a $26,000 cabinet.
Yeah.
So if you were, again, hiding kids in Restoration Hardware furniture, you might accidentally send the kid to the wrong person. But in this case, pretty good chance that the only people who are going to buy the ridiculously priced product on Wayfair know what they're buying.
Right.
If that
Great
were
point.
what's happening.
Look, the Justice Department picks up on weirder things. There was a whole documentary on how they prosecuted the McDonald's monopoly scandal. Like, that's not crazy. If someone that was from an anonymous tip, and it turned out to be a real thing. So, children inside cabinets.
Yes.
Maybe just follow the trail. If it's cold, it's cold, but look into it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the biggest issue, is there is no case file on any of this stuff.
Yeah.
There's still
so
no
incurious.
case file in the FBI on Pizzagate.
No, they'd rather go after Catholics. Honestly, that's what you're dealing with. The Obama-Biden years in the FBI. And by the way, is something we've talked about with our friend of the show, Kyle Seraphin. The rot is still deep inside of the FBI. You might have Dan Bongino and a few of these other people that go in there. The whole thing is just rotten. right? It needs to be completely leveled and brought down to the ground. So they don't have any interest in. They've been helping to facilitate all of this. It's been run through the State Department for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
To me, that's what's so
through deep state. It is.
Go ahead, Philip.
What's so damn frustrating to me, and just like is, it's not like people are asking them to go. I mean, yes, go back and investigate these crimes that happened, but this is still ongoing. Like in protecting the people that are named, those people are still operating business as usual.
Yeah.
So like in not investigating these people, they're perpetuating it.
Like Tara Rodas,
sure.
Yes.
friend of the show, Tara Rodas, who's a Health and Human Services whistleblower, I think HHS, yeah, and she blew the whistle exactly on these operations of ferreting these children around the United States for this illicit trade, and it's still happening right now under Trump. Like, it's still going on because these NGOs and all of it, the billions of dollars, and I guess that's who we're protecting right now, Ben. I mean, that's why you lost your job, for asking these questions and doing real journalism.
Well, yeah, and as you pointed out, it takes on a lot of different forms. There's a whole set of investigations that need to happen over Haiti when the Clinton Foundation got involved there, and a lot of kids went missing at that time. The John of God, he comes up in the Brazilian guy that was Oprah's guru for a while. Remember this guy? He was apparently running kids through Zorro Ranch, Epstein's Zorro Ranch. That's all in these files as well. But we see so many different avenues through which this is all happening. And again, who's investigating any of it? And I know you said, like, you see people like Bongino and Patel. I mean, Kash Patel has been probably the biggest disappointment as FBI director that he possibly could have been on this issue, because he talked about this issue a lot before becoming FBI director. And
Big time.
I think people like me had a lot of hope that, look, so you're going to get Kash in there and he's going to go after these people. And then he just denies it's even happening. So it makes you wonder, too, that there is a level to this that we're not understanding. There is a deeper level than just powerful people that is paralyzing. I think otherwise good people who have gotten into those spots who just, they don't even know what to do with it, so they just pretend it's not happening. And I don't know how you can go to sleep at night pretending it's not happening.
Right. As David Icke pointed out on our show a few weeks ago, I mean, it's all being run by this really nefarious cabal that's way bigger than all of these people. Jeffrey Epstein is not, he's just he was not the ringleader piece of it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Ben Swan, great to have you on the show for the first time. I can't believe our schedules have never aligned to have you on, but we'd love to have you back and continue the great work. And God bless you for the work that you're doing to try to expose all of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ben.
Gosh, he was really good. How have we not spoken to him before?
I don't know. I know we say that sometimes we have new guests we've always known of his work, but just somehow we've never had him on. And we're like, why the hell have we done that?
David said he has been. Maybe when I wasn't on?
I don't know that I don't think he's ever been on with us.
Maybe David on your show.
Maybe on.
I can't recall. He might have been.
Yeah,
maybe like 5 years ago, but I don't think so.
I'm like 90% sure. Yeah.
We'll have to find the tape, but I don't believe so. Maybe, I think we tried to at one point and then our schedules didn't align, but maybe I'm wrong. It might have been like 4 years ago. Anyway, never.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. But he's here. And we're going to take some of your super chats here in a second. Let's do that. Shall we do that? Yes. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. And then, we'll do that. All right. But first, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Quo and their open phone. New year, new systems, right? It's a time when we all look at the same messier parts of our business and think there has to be a better way, and there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest and easiest upgrades that you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, and that is spelled Quo. Smarter way to run your business communications. When you're in that level up mindset for your business, it's wild how much basic stuff matters, like how you talk to customers, how you keep your team on the same page. And a more modern setup like Quo can actually help you all be in sync together. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews. Built for how modern teams work. That's why the more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams, rely on Quo to stay connected, professional, and consistently reachable. Quo isn't just a phone system, it's a smart system. Their AI system automatically logs calls, generates summaries of those calls, and then highlights the next steps so nothing gets lost. Do I need to call this person back? This was a complaint that we need to deal with within our business. Whatever it is, it could also qualify leads or respond after hours, ensuring that your business stays responsive even when you're finally offline. I heard something recently that said, in America right now, everyone expects every business to run like Amazon. So if you're like reaching out to the heating company, you better they want a response, even if it's after hours. That's just how we're operating now, thanks to Amazon and the way that everything is set up. So Quo can help you get there. No customer slips through the cracks. You can take care of everybody. So try Quo for free. Plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/redacted. That's QUO.com/redacted. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers.
All right, I stand corrected. Ben Swan has been on the show before.
When?
It's when I was hosting solo and you were away in March of 25. So it's not that he's forgettable. It's that possibly I have Alzheimer's.
Okay, right.
Let's please forgive me for that memory lapse. He was one of the journalists who was sanctioned by the Biden administration for being associated with RT. That was a fabulous segment. He was fabulous. It's me. I'm the problem.
Someone's not taking their kimchi one.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm a little worried about her lately. He
is fantastic.
She will tell me the same story 2 days in a row.
I do this. Mostly, though, my excuse is that I'm always trying to come up with banter with my teenagers. So I just think of a story and then I tell it over and over again.
She's like, I really like this story. I'm going to keep going with it, even though I've told
Maya's
you.
liked this story.
I told you yesterday. I'm going to tell you the same story again. Okay, because I was worried. I usually can remember like every guest we've had on the show, like I mostly. So I was like, no. Good. I'm glad to know that
it was me.
I was off.
It was
I was not working that day. Okay.
He was fantastic this time as well. It was as if it was new.
Okay. But I do.
It was like the first time.
For the record, I do love hearing your stories multiple times
Thank you, darling.
in a row.
You have to say that.
Didn't your mom do a thing or no? Was it you that would?
We used to do this to each other when someone starts to tell the same story. You go like this.
Like meaning I've heard this before.
Second time I've heard this.
Second time I've heard this story.
But so that actually makes me feel better that I did this as a teenager too.
Right. This is not new for you.
You know what I am? I'm like one of those. I'm kind of boring to talk to in real life because I never get my head out of my books. And so I just like spout facts that nobody wants to, and I just keep mumbling shit to myself.
I do hear her talking to herself. I'll come into the bathroom or something, and she's like, "So, what's going on over there?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really trouble.
I do have to. I won't out the person, but there is somebody I know that used to live with me, and this person drank a lot. And he would get drunk and tell the same exact stories. And there was one time we were just kind of standing out on the porch, and he started, and I was like, dude, if you tell that story, I'm throwing you off this porch. I was like, I do not want to hear that damn story again.
Although when you're
always
married,
the same story.
You know the social cues. Someone will say something, and I'm like, Clayton's going to tell this story, and then there it goes. Like,
yeah, I know
cue
it
this.
too.
I know the social cues. Like, so
Natalie's going to go down this rabbit hole.
This.
Here we go. I've got about a good 15 minutes now.
Oh, the vegan story. Here comes this. I knew it.
There's Natalie going to talk about the dentist story.
This is marriage, you guys.
I'm going to go take a nap.
People were annoyed that we bickered at the end of my university stories, but this is marriage. This is lighthearted bickering. This is
marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage.
That's how it goes. It's all in good spirit. We'll make up later.
Pentavonian says Natalie reports the same story 2 days in a row to Clayton. Yes, that's right. So after today's show, she's going to do that whole story again for me later.
I'm going to tell you about this great person I met today named Ben Swan.
Exactly.
It's only because of Philip that she doesn't do it on the show.
Right.
It's like, we already covered that.
We already covered that. Let's see here. Someone says, I am Sid 953 says there was a Florida reporter who reported on Pizzagate many years ago. A few days after his report aired, he disappeared for about 3 weeks. After he resurfaced, he never reported on this again.
I believe it.
I didn't hear that story. Sizemore says, Clayton, can you tell us about your time at WVVA in West Virginia? Sure.
Do I have to stay for this?
I'll tell you the story again. No, you can
and then can you tell the dentist story again?
Yeah, can you tell your So I worked at WVVA in West Virginia, Bluefield, West Virginia, and I have to say some of the nicest people I've ever worked with. Oh my God, the people in Bluefield and Virginia, and because it's bisected. Bluefield, Virginia, and West Virginia are bisected. So there's two cities there. Just beautiful time. Great people, I was there during some of the big floods. Had to cover a lot of that. OxyContin disaster in there. That was not fun, but some incredible people there in West Virginia. Love it, love it, love it. So you have family from West Virginia.
Beckley, West Virginia. Actually,
Beckley.
Shillian specifically.
Beckley Bluefield. That was my television market.
Shillian, West
I did
Virginia, down the holler.
Did the morning show there with Corey Henderson in the morning. And he was like a real buttoned up, like weather guy. Like he had a good sense of humor if you got him laughing. So my goal every day was to try to make him laugh on the show. And I often did. I have a whole tape of me just making him laugh where he was like, didn't know how to respond because he's like he was like a buttoned up, good, like church boy weather guy.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. But I would like try to do stuff to throw him off and make him laugh. I have a tape of that. I found a tape recently of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other super chats you want to take here? David, are we able to, are we able to see them now in social stream here or no?
Yeah, you should be able to see them. Grim set that up. You should be able to see just the super chats and Rumble rants in the events.
Events. Okay, I can't see that, but I'll try this real quick here. We'll just do a few of
You
these.
can see there. Yeah.
Okay. Watch Europa, The Last Battle, and it will answer your questions. Thank you, official Junot.
Europe, The Last Battle. Okay. This has been become one of my favorite channels from David A357. Keep on keeping on. Thank you so much. We intend to.
Claudie Bertha. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. By getting these academics compromised is how Jeffrey Epstein and the Blue Star members started to shape the world how they wanted it to be. Pure evil. That was for you.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
that-
As a response to my academic story, I appreciate that. What? Go ahead, Philip.
And that's just something that like again, like I'm trying to think who was it Pam Bondi that recently just said like if we knew everything, like this system would come collapsing down if they didn't redact all these names. There's somebody that said something to that effect. And I'm just like, if the system we have allows this to happen, I want that system to come down.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Give us the pain that comes with it. That's fine. We'll get over it. But we can't continue in a society like we can't have a system that allows this.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. What do you think is out first? Oh, who do you think is out first from this administration? From Noah B., 1989. Who knows? I don't have any bets. We should make a monopoly board or a
Bongino,
football pool.
does he count?
He's already out. Yeah.
He got out. He got out right ahead of this, right before this. He probably knew it was coming. Got right out.
Yeah.
Holtzclaw on Rumble says, Bongino and what he didn't do is what completely opened my eyes to reality. For that, I'm grateful. So because Bongino lied and what he did and actually did not do with the FBI and then comes back to his podcast, like he's like, I'm going to rough up some people that want just Epstein files and stuff like that. So that opened your eyes. That opened a lot of people's eyes, I think. People were definitely red-pilled as a result of that.
But I want to congratulate you because, that's sometimes people have these loyalties and you're like, wait a minute. So that means you're still clear thinking. So congratulations.
Are you guys dissing the Podfather?
What? Who's?
Oh, the Podfather. I love that he calls himself the Podfather. Meanwhile, you want to go back to Adam Curry, who actually created the original podcast?
Adam Curry is the Podfather,
but
who incidentally gave me my start in broadcast journalism. So, no, he's not the Podfather. Adam Curry has been for 2 decades at least.
He's the guy that created podcasts. Literally, he created it. He created the I think he created the RSS structure for it, if I'm not mistaken, that allowed people to publish it on an RSS. I might be wrong about that, but then for Dan Bongino to be like, I'm the Podfather, he called himself.
Does he really call himself that?
Yeah, he called himself that. He's like, hey, by the way, everyone, get ready. The Podfather is returning.
I wonder if Adam Curry has a trademark on that.
I don't know.
That's not right. You can't steal someone's.
Well, I think even Apple didn't they get into a big tiff. Not he and Apple, but I think Apple, because it was the iPod. That's, so I don't know. Does Apple own the right to the term podcast? I think there was
something like that. I don't remember the details. It's been too
long. All right.
So you were partly right, Clayton. Adam Curry did not create RSS. It was created by Dan Libby and Ramanathan Guha. However, Curry is known as the Podfather for collaborating with Dave Weiner in 2000-2004 to apply RSS technology to audio, creating first podcast feeds.
Okay.
So it was around RSS.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. People saying the movie Europa is good. I have to check that out. Gopher says, can't believe Bongino made #1 on Rumble leader list. Well, as you know, Kyle Seraphin was pointing out, like so many, like it seems like they spent a lot of money, according to them, on bots. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying apparently there was like a huge bot army. So that can happen when you spend a lot of money on bots.
Yeah. People are saying Adam Curry's from the Netherlands. He lived in the Netherlands. He married a woman from the Netherlands, and his daughter, I believe, still lives there. But I think he's originally from like New Jersey or something like that. But he speaks fluent Dutch, as far as I remember. So
I ran into him like 8 years ago at NAB or CSS, one of those, and talked to him.
One day I'll tell you the story of how he called me up and said, I'm going to make you the next Maria Bartiromo. And I was like, who is this? What do you want? I had only been on the air once. It's a funny story. So anyway, yeah, he's the one who taught me how to be a broadcaster.
Yeah, all right. I think that's it, right? We got a bunch of. I wasn't able to get the. I wasn't able to get anything. So social stream just shows like a continuous stream. I don't see like.
Grim, are you here to open up events for him?
See like an
log on the
events
Mac
area.
Mini and pull up events.
Man, it's okay. Clayton is squinting glasses time. That's right. Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us today on this Thursday. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, we do have a daily newsletter you should all subscribe to. It comes out Monday through Thursday. If you just go to redacted.inc, put in your email address, you will receive that email. It's a great morning email that Natalie writes. Spends a lot of time working on it every day to make sure that you have great stories that the mainstream media largely ignores. Plus, we cover the markets. We give you things you might have missed while you were sleeping overnight. And you can read it in about 5 or 10 minutes, but it is unlike, you know, like if you subscribe to like a CNN newsletter, it's not like that. You're going to get real news published every day into your inbox, and we don't sell your email address or anything like that. You'll receive the Redacted newsletter Monday through Thursday. Redacted.inc.com is the place to go to sign up and become a registered user of the newsletter, and we'll be back with live shows next week. So thank you guys. We're live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you back here next week.